Hello, Epic Friends. Welcome back for another reading. Today we are continuing in the book of Matthew. And so we are reading Matthew chapter 12, verses 46 through 50. So just a couple of quick passages or quick verses in this passage. So grab your Bible so that you can read along, follow along, or listen. And then grab your comma journal so that you can go through the comma method. As we read today's passage, it gives you a different way and a new way of thinking about what we're reading. And so if you're familiar with the comma method, you can go ahead and fast forward. But I'm going to go ahead and do a quick recap for those who need the recap and the refresh or that need the verbal cues. So, comma, different way of thinking about what we're reading and thinking about it in new ways. And so the letters in comma stands for different ways that you can be reading and thinking about the passage. So the C in comma stands for context. What's happening here? What's happening when this book of the Bible was written? So if you have a study Bible, that first page of that Bible gives you a really great overview and understanding of what's going on. The O in comma stands for observation. What do I see? And so think of the word treats without the vowels. TRTS. That first T stands for theme. That big bold heading at the top of that passage gives you a really good idea and summary of what that passage is about. The R in treat stands for repeating words or ideas. If it is said over and over again, it is a good idea to pay special attention to what that is. The T in treats, that second T is truths about God. What does the passage tell you about God? And then the S in treats is something striking, something that stands out to you that you maybe never thought of before. So moving on to that M in comma is a message. What does God say? So taking a closer look at what God says is putting on your specs, which are SPECS. So those letters stands for that first S, sins to confess. Is there some way that people are disobeying God in this passage? The P in spec stands for promise to claim. Is there a promise God makes to his people? When you look at specs and you see the E, that's an example to follow. Is God showing you how to live by the way someone else is living in what you're reading about? And then the C in specs, command to follow or command to obey. Is there a command God has given? And the S in specs is statement about God. What is true about God that you have learned after reading today's passage? So you want to be thinking about those things and writing them down in your journal. Your journal gives you a space to write these things down. That second M is meditation. Just that. Give yourself some time to think about what you read and what you thought about. Sit quietly, listen to worship music, go for a walk, journal, whatever it is, but take some time and think about what God is saying to you. And then the A, super important. Now that you've read this, now that you've thought about it a little bit differently, what are you going to do? How are you going to apply it to your life? All right, so refer back to this last page of your journal if you want to reference the comma method and what to be looking for while you're reading, or you can always rewind. But we're going to get started with our reading. So again, we are in Matthew chapter 12, verses 46 through 50. Super short, but make sure you pay special attention to these things in the comma method so that you can get the most out of this reading. All right. Here we go. Matthew chapter 12, starting with verse 46, Jesus' mother and brothers. While Jesus was still talking to the crowd, his mother and brothers stood outside, wanting to speak to him. Someone told him, "Your mother and brothers are standing outside, wanting to speak to you." He replied to them, "Who is my mother, and who are my brothers?" Pointing to his disciples, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother." Think about what that means. Repeating words and ideas, maybe a truth or just some ideas, something striking to you that never stood out. Write those things down. If you have questions, ask us about it. We'd love to talk more with you. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.